Alright guys, welcome back. So in this one, I'm going to try to add in two animations. One is the death animation, the other one is an emote, but they're basically the same thing. You just need to find a proper slot for that. Okay, so let's try to add in those slots in the slot manager. Do we have one? No. Let's go to window and let's see if we can find that animation slot manager here. And then let's add in a new slot called emote. Okay, and then I'd like to add in a special slot for death. Okay, so both of these. All right, now we can just add in the emote slot. You have to add in this default slot first, and then you can change that to whatever you want. So emote slot is in there, and this one will be the death slot. The order matters because whatever that goes to the slot here, to the later slot will override the previous slot. So that's why the death is the last, which hence will override whatever that's before. So the death is going to be the final thing to do. Okay, now with those two in there, and we can just easily create the montage on those particular slots, and we can play them. Okay. And oh, actually, I think the emote slot should be on the upper body, because what if the emote is we're running, we're doing emote, so that's not good. I'm gonna put it in here. Okay. So the upper body is more like a generic one. So it could be that that's the emote one will be just the upper body one if you wanted to. Okay. All right. At the moment, the emote will override the melee attack. I think that should be switched then because the attack is more important than emote, I think. So let me switch those two. All right, that should be it actually. So let's go back here to the player. Now let me go to the project settings, and we can go for the input. Let's add in two more input. Emote, and this one will be death. Okay, and then emote will be, I guess, the E button. Okay, and the death will be the key button, K button for killing, I guess. K button here. All right, that's going to be the two action mapping. Now back here to the player, we can just start adding in those two events. So emote and death. Okay, so what happens when those two, right? It's actually a pretty simple thing. All we have to do is play a montage. So it's basically this. Okay, play animation montage. Control C, Control V to copy that and drag it over there, and drag it over there. Okay. Now we don't have any montage yet, so let's make them real quick. Back into the map, let me add in another animation montage. I'm gonna call this guy AM Emote. Okay, and then in there, I'm gonna change the group first to emote. Okay, and then remember that you have to close and reopen it, otherwise you're gonna get nothing there. And there's a bunch of emote in there, I think. Let's search for that. So I'm gonna go for emotes. Laugh. How does that one looks like? Okay, that's cool. So I'm gonna drag that into the animation montage and save it. And that's it. And then let's go back here and create another animation montage. And this one will be AM death. And again, the slot will be the death slot. Close and reopen. Okay, and then we can find the death. There's only one death in there, and save it. Okay, and then back here to the player. All we have to do is go to the montage and pick the correct one. So this one is going to be the emote one, and this one will be the death one. And lo and behold, that's all you have to do. Now if I hit the E button, I have the emote, but when I do the melee attack, you can see how that cancels the emote, because the emote slot is actually before the attack, right? So which means that the attacker will override the emote. That's what I'm trying to demonstrate, because the emote, the upper body, which is where the combo is after the emote slot. So whatever that goes to the source will be overridden by whatever that's playing on the slot. Okay, that's the montage's mechanic there, and that's what the slot is. The death slot is on the very end, because then whatever you do will not do anything anymore. It's all going to be overridden by the death. Let's try that. I'm going to hit the K button. See how we're dead, right? But you can also see how we're transitioning back again. We can prevent that from happening by going to the AM death, and then you can look for the blending, and there's a automatic blend out. Check that off, and that will prevent it from blending out. Okay, now if we play again and hit the K button, you can see how we're dead and we never go back. Left click, oh, still goes back to the melee. That's actually a very important point I need to show you. Oops. Let's try that again. So if you left click, you're back. That's because the montage are only singular in the same group. Okay, the death animation is cancelled when you do the upper body, even though this is after, but we're doing the montage of the same group, which will eliminate the previous. Just because we tell it to not automatically blend out doesn't mean that issuing another montage play wouldn't blend it out. That's what's happening. So we're basically, the system is blending out from death to the attack. How do we prevent that? Well, that's going to be the grouping. Okay, because our death is also in the default group. So if I add in a new group, I call this one death group or action group, special action, whatever, right? Or interrupt, whatever, interrupt. It's really hard to come up with the proper naming. Naming something is half of the battle. The battle, sorry. And then drag the death into the interrupt group, which we can't. I guess I need to add in another slot called death in there, or I need to remove it. Yeah, I need to go back here to the death, and then tell it to go back maybe to the default group for now. Okay, then I can go back here to the animation blueprint, and then delete that death. It's doing something else. Compile and save everything. Save all, I guess. Let's see if that's okay now. Animation graph node slot. Oh, because I have that slot. That's right. That's okay. Let me just get rid of that first. And let me remove the death slot and then add that into the interrupt. Then it becomes a different group. So montages of the different group wouldn't interrupt each other. Okay, so which means that whatever montage you're playing, and you played another montage of the same group, then it's gonna transition to that new montage. For example, if you're playing something on full body and then you play something on the default slot, that full body animation will be transitioned or terminated or blended out to the whatever animation you play in its slot, because they're the same group, but a different group wouldn't interrupt, so they don't know each other's existence basically. All right, so now we can use that interrupt death as the death animations slot. It's more like a coding thing now. Okay, and that will be the death here. Okay, now if we are dead, right, we cannot do anything anymore. Oh, we don't have that slot added into the animation blueprint. Slot. And it will be the interrupt. Now if we're killed, right, no amount of clicking would bring you back because you're dead. Okay, and none of the emote will do anything. Okay, that's again the grouping part of the animation which would be important to know. You can still move and stuff because there's nothing in the coding to prevent that. We're only testing animation, so that part of the thing is out of the scope of this tutorial. Okay. Yes, I think that's some of the basics of the animation blueprint in Unreal Engine. You can see now the flexibility there, right? Okay, hopefully this helps, and let me know if you have some comments, some suggestions on this. There's way more you can do with it. For example, if you go left and right, you can actually add something called leaning, so that the body can be tilted to left and right. As additive animations could be pretty cool. And when you're aiming, right, when you're doing some ability casting, you can also change the way that the upper body behaves so that the player will always facing at where, or the character will always be facing at where the pointer is aiming at, right? There's quite a lot of things you can add in, but that's the basics. All right, that's the entire tutorial. See you guys next time.